Kata is one of the biggest characteristics of karate. These movements are a specific sequence of techniques that mimic multiple drills in one larger combination. A lot of these contain punches, kicks, blocks, takedowns, and many more attributes of martial arts. World's most popular karate style, Shotokan, consists of 26 official kata. All of them are in multiple difficulties, some being shorter and having more simple techniques up to most difficult and longer ones, which also use relatively niche techniques that demonstrate the technical diversity of karate. While most kata have evolved for a different purpose, some are adapted for sports karate, which nowadays is pushing the limit of human biomechanics, speed, and power to demonstrate each technique and transition as close to perfection as possible. The traditional method, where it's to work the drills and applications of the kata, or in karate as it's called, Bunkai. Nowadays also to restore the meanings of the kata, as some of them are lost to time. And of course to have some kind of unique exercise which fits the art aspect of karate. While each kata might look a bit different in performance based on the purpose, the core original form is still there. Yes, there might be some light differences based on the school, body type, or preference, but each kata that is performed is mostly the same since their creation. Except for one. The kata called Chinte is one of the 26 official Shotokan style kata. In translation, it means rare hands or unusual hands, which fits the name very well, as it consists of very weird movements if you look at it as just a sequence of moves. These movements are actually grabbing, clinch work, takedowns, arm locks, standing escape techniques, knee work, and eye pokes. But at the very end, after the final grabbing strike technique, there is something really unusual. In the Shotokan version of this kata, there are 3 very goofy hops backwards. This is the only kata where something like this exists. Also, there is no real proper documentation of the application here, despite some people trying to find some kind of meaning in these hops. As mentioned previously, some meanings of the movements and combinations have been lost to time, so it's really hard to tell what is really going on here at the end of Chinte. Or is it? Shotokan style originated from Shurite, which is an indigenous martial art from the Shuri area of Okinawa, which nowadays is a prefecture of Japan. Shotokan was not the only style of karate which came from Shurite, but also Shorin-ryu, Shito-Ryu, Gensa-ryu, Moto-ryu, and some others. As these styles came from Shurite, most of them also shared the same kata. However, each of them got adapted with each style's specifics, as they were spread out to mainland Japan and rest of the world. Kata Chinte also appears in other styles, such as Shito-Ryu. Shito-Ryu version contains the same techniques and combinations as the Shotokan style, which keeps the original idea of the form. It's just performed with certain differences that fits that style. Most of the structure of the kata is still the same, except the very ends, where at the final combination, which ends with the grabbing strike technique, just as the Shotokan version, instead of the silly hops, the kata ends. So why does the Shotokan version have the hops then if the different style with the same kata does not have it? While Shotokan style was founded in 1928, the variation which impacted modern karate the most was founded in 1949, with the establishment of Japan Karate Association, also known as JKA. This organization of Shotokan introduced standardization but also adjusted Shotokan to reduce injury, made the training more athletic, and added more structure not only to the practice of Shotokan but also competitions and tournaments. In JKA there were 2 disciplines, kumite or sparring and kata, the forms, which kickstarted the competition side of karate. With the creation of competition, there also need to be rules formed, what is allowed and what is not. With these rules for kata discipline under the criteria of judging, it was forced that the kata have to start and end at the same points, or the so-called embusen. While it was not an issue for most kata to have performance deviations, one sadly did not follow it, and it was Chinte. This kata ended a bit more forward than the design starting points, and that made the kata invalid for competitions under the specific rule sets. So the only way to get back to the starting point while keeping the same form was to have hops like that to be executed, which would make it viable for the Turkiye rule sets. While there are nowadays multiple rule sets and organizations for sports karate, only few still require this embusen part of judging criteria. I believe that since these early tournaments were the biggest showcase platforms of these kata, a lot of people learned the form from them, thus spreading the fact that the hops at the end of Chinte are the actual parts of the kata. Not only for the competition but for the regular curriculum as well. However, at the same time there's a bit of a rival theory as well, that the Shotokan version of Chinte was before the Shito-Ryu one, as Shotokan was founded in 1928 but Shito-Ryu in 1934, thus potentially making these hops lost moves whose meaning were lost to time.